Hello and welcome. This is rooflemonger, and my friends, in today's video I want to talk about Capcom versus SNK 2, one of the best and one of the most important fighting games of all time, period, hands down. CVS2, in no uncertain terms, is simply a masterpiece in fighting game design. So with that said, here I want to take a look back in this video at just what the game is and what it did to make it so special. So first, to start it off here, Capcom vs SNK 2 is the mark of the millennium. It came out in late 2001 and was basically set to show off the new millennium of fighting games. Now in Japan, the subtitle is different. In Japan, it is Millionaire Fighting 2001. A specific note to the plot of the game. Now, the game does not have much in the way of plot, but what is there is this. The Masters Foundation and the Garcia Financial Concern, well, they got together and decided to hold a martial arts tournament. These guys being Masters Foundation, aka Ken Masters, and Garcia Finance, as in Robert Garcia. They're both rich boy fighting game people, right? So they put together a fighting game tournament and the winner gets $1 million. That's about it. But hey, good enough reason to fight, if any. Being a sequel, it's a follow-up directly to the first Capcom vs SNK, but once again, a little lore light, little plot light, although it is hinted at that the winners of the first Capcom vs SNK were Joe and Dan. And you know what? Two buttheads winning the big crossover event, I love it. Makes sense to me. So that all now said, let's talk about some of the stuff that made CVS2 truly special. So first off here, gameplay wise, the game ideally runs off the 3 vs 3 classic King of Fighters formula. You pick your fighters and you go from there. However, if it was just that alone, that's fine. Hey, King of Fighters has thrived over the years with that exact formula, but there's a lot more to it than just that. Like, first off here, look at the roster. This is a roster for the ages. If you want to play it a bit more safe, you got your Ryu, you got your Ken, you got your Chun-Li. On the SNK side, yeah, you got your Kyo, you got your Iori, your Terry Bogard, my Shiranui, all that. But if you want to get a little bit weirder, the weirder choices are there. Like, what about Kyosuke from Rival Schools? Eagle from Street Fighter 1? Hibiki from Last Blade 2, very recently showing up in the new version of Samurai Showdown. How about Geese and Rugal? These guys don't show up in games often, so their appearance is very special. Getting these characters is like a rare treat. Any kind of playstyle you could possibly hope for or possibly want, you will find covered in this roster. It is a truly fantastic roster. So 3-on-3, great roster, that's just scratching the surface. We got a lot more to go. We have the ratio system, and we'll go more in depth in that in a little bit, but suffice to say, just your 3 members, that's not all. And of course, we have the grooves. The grooves are the heart and soul of CVS2. So you can see here, we got C, A, P, S, N, K. So Capcom, SNK. Cute enough, right? And you pick your groove before you even pick whatever team members you're gonna pick. What a groove is this. It completely defines how you are gonna play the game. It gives you your own full-on rule set. Like, every fighting game has its rule set, right? Like, what's possible, what's not. Each one of these 6 different grooves is its own full-on fighting game rule set. So effectively, you have 6 levels of base systems to work with in this game, on top of whatever characters you're gonna play. Every groove plays very differently from every other groove. They all have different things they're looking for. They all have different things they offer to you, the player. Some help with offense more, some help with defense more. They all got their all varying forms of utility. And the real beautiful thing is, depending on the character you want to play, your character will wildly change what they are looking for in the match depending on what they're doing. An A groove Bison wants to do a very different thing than a K groove Bison, for example. Now, just to talk how some of these mechanics worked here, because they're very core to the game. First, the ratio system. So regardless of your team, like, yeah, you could have a team of 3, but you could also maybe not, right? What matters is you're given a ratio of 4 points, and that's what you have to work with. However you want to spend those 4 points is completely up to you. So most of the time, if you pick a team of 3, how it's going to work then, you're going to have a ratio 1 character, a second ratio 1 character, and one ratio 2 character, because that equals 4. However, on the flip, you could only pick, say, 2 characters. And then you would have a ratio 1 character and one ratio 3 character, or finally, you could just say, screw it, I am only picking 1 character, and that will be a single ratio 4 character. Every ratio number obviously is stronger than the last. Ratio 2 is what's considered the standard. That is 100% damage and 100% life. So in this example here, we're hitting a combo, so 4,830 damage. This is a ratio 2 versus a ratio 2 character. Same combo versus a ratio 1 character does the same amount of damage, but they take more damage overall because they have less health. Now versus a ratio 4 character, once again, same combo, same damage, but they take less damage because they have a lot more health. So how this all works is this: a ratio 1 character has 80% of their base health value, dealing 82% of the damage. Ratio 2 character is quote-unquote normal, just 100% everything. A ratio 3 character does 117% more damage and has 117% more health. And finally, a ratio 4 character has 140% more health while dealing 130% more damage. So here, a ratio 4 Geese hitting a ratio 1 Terry with Raging Storm almost one-shots him. Like, it does so much damage. So higher ratio characters, just a lot more survivability, a lot more damage. However, mathematically, the way to get the most health and the most damage is indeed to pick 3 characters. So that is why over the life of the game, ratio 1, ratio 1, ratio 2 is usually how it's done. That said, now I do have to talk about the grooves, because that is the heart and the soul of this game. So the grooves, 6 grooves in all, 3 Capcom, 3 SNK, and they all wildly change how you play. So let's talk about each one in some detail. So first, let's talk the C groove. It gives you dashing, air guards, counterattacks, rolling, tactical recovery, and a 3-level super combo system, aka meter system. Now, dashing, little self-explanatory, so we'll move on to something a little bit more interesting here, the roll. Now, as a younger rooflemonger when this game was newer, I always was very confused that you could roll in a lot of the Capcom grooves, because that's very strictly an SNK thing, but I guess they want to keep the power balance between the grooves fairly level, because rolling is kind of important. So rolls are invincible. They get you past anything you want to get past. Pretty cut, pretty dry. Now you can still be thrown out of a roll, and the end of a roll has a little bit of a recovery period, but otherwise rolling is just great. You can move around with a lot more freedom than a lot of other games. And specifically on the Capcom end of things as well, rolling, there is only forward rolling in this game. There's no back rolling like some SNK titles. So characters like Guile or E Honda that need charge for their moves, you can still move forward with rolls while maintaining your charge. Counterattack goes by many names, V reversal, alpha counter, whatever you want to say it, that's basically what it is. And when you are blocking, if you hit forward and your 2 mediums together, you will do an attack. You'll burn a bar, but you'll get the enemy off you. Now, it's not full invincible, but it gets the job done. Air blocking lets you block air-to-air interactions, so you can block another jumping foe, or say you land on a projectile, you can block that. However, it only works air-to-air, not air-to-ground. And tactical recovery lets you hold buttons to stay down just a little longer than you otherwise normally would, just to really throw off a lot of Oki and setups and all that kind of stuff. And perhaps the biggest reason to pick this groove is the supers. It is the only groove that can do a level 1, a level 2, or a level 3 super, your choice. And also, as a little side bonus, it builds meter faster than any of the other grooves as well. But the big secret here, besides all that, is the special level 2 cancels. You are allowed to cancel a level 2 super into whatever you want, including special moves, as you can see here. So Chun-Li did spinning bird kick after the level 2 super. Or conversely, you can do a level 2 super into a level 1 super for mega damage. Like for Chun-Li as our example here, her level 3 does less damage than a level 2 into a level 1 super. So by using the meter this specific way, you get a lot more out of it. The C groove is kind of considered the standard groove, and very well so, because it's just very good, very strong, and it can never steer you wrong. The A groove offers a lot what the C groove does, dashing, counterattacks, rolling, although we do have the safe fall and the super meter. Man, potentially any groove, this is the most the super meter groove, because it's all about custom combos. A groove safe fall is basically like what back roll is in Street Fighter V. It's just another way to get around Oki setups and just help defend yourself when you're getting up. Now, A groove only allows for level 1 supers. So you can either super while you're inside the groove like you've activated it, you can do it right away, which is not advisable, or you can wait till near the end of it, which is probably what you're going to do, or you can just burn the bar by itself if you just desperately need the level 1, but there's no level 2 or level 3s possible in this groove. The big thing is, once you activate it, everything chains into everything. There is effectively no restrictions at all. It is about as true as a custom combo setup as you're ever going to see in any fighting game. Anything you can think of can chain into itself forever. The only question is if you're going to get pushed out or not. And for some characters, and this is why we're using my Shiranui as our example here, she has a slide, right? So she can just infinitely slide over and over and over and just wait it out. She doesn't have to worry. Now, it's not the most optimal damage setup, sure, but it is an option available to her. So here, we'll just do it. We'll just slide as much as we can till the bar almost runs out, and at the very end, we'll do our level 1 super. Some custom combo setups are legitimately direct kills. You're just dead, because it'll always bring you to stun, and then from stun, you lose. If you like overly long combos and very dramatic looking stuff, man, this is the groove for you, because as far as player expression goes, this allows for it the most. Whatever you think you can do, trust me, in this groove, you can do it. The P groove, you might as well call this the Street Fighter 3 groove, like, to be real. Has dashing, has tactical recovery, we've seen both of those. It does have small jumps, which we'll talk about in a second, and the big deal here is the parrying system. The meter, the super combo system there at the bottom, is probably the worst meter of all 6 grooves, to be fair, but, or at least the most boring anyways. But yeah, so parrying is the name of the game. So P groove has hops, another purely SNK thing in a Capcom groove, but whatever, I guess that's the way it's gonna be. So the thing with the hop is this, so when you jump, well, you jump, right? But if you just tap up, you will then basically jump around half the height of the regular jump. So for characters with strong jumping buttons, this is a godsend, because basically you're going to be eating it in the face a lot sooner because you don't have to go over the arc of the jump before the jumping attack gets you. For some characters it's not as big of a deal, but once again here, if you have a decent jumping offense, a hop is amazing. To note though, in this game, hops to help balance them a little bit, I guess. They have a little bit of landing recovery, so if you want to do a combo after a jump, you got to make sure it's a deep jump in from the hop. The parrying? Well, it's parrying, so just like Street Fighter 3, hit forward right before the enemy attack connects, and you'll parry the attack, and yes, you can do it in succession, back to back to back to back, like in the classic Evo Moment 37, you know, hey, let's go Chang! Let's do it! Hey, 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 hey! And then, you know, you can still screw it up though, right? And finally, for the meter, it only allows for level 3 supers, and sadly, it doesn't fill up all that fast. So if you're picking this groove, it is specifically because you want to parry. That is the whole reason you show up to the dance. The S groove allows for a lot of classic SNK stuff here, running, hops, and we also have counterattacks and tactical recovery from previous grooves. And we have pretty unique stuff here, and we also have the dodge and the whole way the S meter works. S is really weird compared to a lot of the other grooves. First, just a quick note here on the S groove and running. Any groove that allows for running will allow Morgan to do her classic Dark Styles flight, because she will do that in place of running. So if you're a Morgan fan and you want to try out the grooves, try the grooves with running, because it'll let you play proper Morgan. Other than that, all the SNK grooves let you run, and running is basically strictly better than just dashes for the most part, as it gets you where you need to go a lot quicker. It is inherently more offensive. S groove also lets you spot dodge, so you can hold your buttons here, your 2 lights, kick and punch, and just kind of dodge in place. Now it is invincible, although you can be thrown, but keep in mind the end of it is not invincible, so time it correctly. The S groove also unique in that it allows you to charge your meter going all the way to max. And when you're in max, you only get level 1 supers. I know it's not a big deal, but hey, them's the breaks. So you can charge out, and when you're charged out, the max meter will slowly degrade, and you can burn your bar whenever you want before it runs out. The S groove, though, is all about when you're in danger. So when you're in danger, you actually get a permanent damage boost. It's a little bit, but about 5% more damage. And when you are in max mode, once you are in your danger zone, your red health, you do a lot more damage, as you can see right there. And also, any supers you do now, they're no longer level 1s, they are level 3 supers. The big bonus here being, though, besides all the max mode stuff, is if you're in critical state, you don't need meter anymore. You get infinite level 1 supers. Just do the motion. You don't need any meter, you'll just get level 1 after level 1 after level 1. So characters with good spammable supers highly benefit from being in the S groove. Now the N groove. This is basically the King of Fighters 98 groove. You can run, you can short hop, you have counterattacks, you can roll, you have safe falls, as a lot of stuff we've already gone over, but you also have counter movement, which is exclusive to this groove, and also the stock system of meter. So you can still counterattack, that's all well and good, right? But remember, counterattack is not really that invincible. However, this is because you basically just do a roll when you block, and you keep a lot of that roll invincibility. So there's a lot of times where this is preferable to the usual counterattack. So the N groove has stocks. So you can see here, basic sweep does 1,000, and if you break a stock, you deal 1,200. So whenever you choose to build one of your meters, your stocks as it were, you get a 20% damage boost to everything you do for a short amount of time. So for an example here, bread and butter combo does 2,366 damage. However, same combo, if you want to break a stock, it will do more here. Now all of a sudden, 2,839 damage. Now the stocks are effectively replacements for meters. So if you were to burn a single stock on, say, a super move, it would be a level 1 super. Now, however, if you were to, say, break a stock and get your buff up, and then burn that super again, you will get a level 3 super instead. So one of the big benefits of the N groove is it can effectively get level 3 supers for the price of 2 bars instead of 1. Now that, of course, all told, you do have to be in max mode already, so it's not like you can do it on demand, and sometimes that's exactly what you need, but it is a very nice and cool benefit. And finally, K groove. So K groove is basically a mishmash of Samurai Showdown and Garou Mark of the Wolves. Ability wise, not much. You can run, you can hop, safe fall, that's it. But you get just defense and the rage gauge. Just defense is kind of a different version of parrying. So instead of hitting forward right before the hit back right before the hit. So it's inherently a lot safer to do, and every time you get a just defense as well, you get a significant chunk of your meter, and this groove, flatly put out, is all about the meter. So when the gauge goes all the way to full, you can see it burning, your character turns bright red. This is when you are in turbo mode, you're just buffed across the board. Your normals do 35% more damage than they normally do. Your special moves do 30% more, your supers do 10% more, you take less damage, just a little over 10% less damage you take, and you also deal more chip damage. Like, no matter how you swing it, you're just a better version of the character once you have this up. And you gain it by either getting hit or doing just defenses. So higher ratio characters with more health, or just characters with more health in general, are the ones that benefit the most from the K groove, because when you're in rage, you are terrifying, and every super is always a level 3 that does more damage than normal. Alright, now that we've talked so much about mechanics here, let's talk a little bit more lighter. And let's talk about just the visual and audio presentation of the game, because that's part of the reason why the game is so well remembered, because everything looks so good. Like, everything has this lovely TV presentation to it, from the menus to also in the game as well. Everything looks so flashy, like the Groove Select menu looks like $1,000,000. This is maybe my favorite character select menu of any fighting game of all time. Just looks really sharp presentation. You got bright flames burning in the background. It's all so awesome. A lot of stuff is heavily color-coded yellow, and this is well before, Persona 4 ever showed up on the scene, right? So it was the first game to really hammer home some yellow, and just, yeah, the menus, the verses, the everything. We go to our matches here. Hey, just here's a guy, giant animatronic drinking beer. Like, everything about the presentation is just amazing. Even the grooves fit into the presentation, let alone the gameplay. So we just picked C Groove a second ago here, and look at the art of the characters. All the art is by Capcom artists. If we pick an SNK groove, instead, all the art for all the characters will be done by the SNK artist Shinkiro. So even the little things like that, your character art, just picking your groove affects all that kind of stuff. Like, once again, this game is brimming with personality. You ever seen the CVS2 dramatic KO? Because guess what? It's the best in fighting game history. Nothing else comes close. Look at that. Just on fire KO. Oh my god, it's amazing. All the visual stuff truly fantastic, and the music, one of the best fighting game soundtracks of all time.
Feel the calm before the storm as the round begins.
Just simply put, Capcom vs. SNK 2 sets a level of presentation all the way back in the very beginning of the 2000s that very few fighting games have ever come close to approaching, and hopefully maybe one day we'll get a CVS3 and it's just as sharp. Now, I guess the last thing I want to talk about for CVS2 is the arcade mode. Now, on this channel, we're usually much more focused on the competitive aspects of fighting games, but CVS2 arcade mode is one that's always stuck with me. Once again, presentation, awesome, right? But just also how it leads to the end, and to me, one of the most memorable end bosses in fighting game history. So there's 3 potential end states for the arcade mode as it stands, and it's all based on various factors and what you do and your amount of points and all that kind of stuff. And the most basic ending is simply, hey, you won the tournament, awesome, great job. And who's that on the edge? So come the end of the tournament, there's a lovely little celebration, right? Here's your confetti, all that kind of stuff, and here are your winners. Also, take note of that castle in the background, because a lot of stuff goes down there depending on how things turn out. But if you win just normally low points and didn't fulfill all the requirements, you just get the win. Awesome. Here's our strongest trio, Terry Weisgeese in this specific scenario, and hey, I guess you win the $1 million. That's about all there is to it. But right after that, you win, then, oh, what's happening here? Okay, we're panning out. Cool enough, sure enough, right? And as we pan out, then oh my god, what is that, a foot? Whose foot could that be? Well, you see, Capcom vs. SNK 2 has 2 different end bosses. One for Capcom, one for SNK. The end boss of Capcom is Akuma, the old classic, and the end boss for SNK is Rugal. And to be fully frank here, between the two, Rugal is a lot more interesting. You get to see Akuma every day. You don't even need to be in Street Fighter to see Akuma. The dude's everywhere. You can't get rid of him. Rugal? Kinda rare, kinda special. He's not always around. Boss of KOF 94, 95, and then kinda just takes breaks for Dream Games. That's it. We also have mini bosses as well. In this game, you also have an SNK and Capcom mini boss. The Capcom mini boss is M. Bison, and at some point, they will interrupt your journey to challenge you, and the SNK mini boss is Geese Howard. Fighting these mini bosses, once again here, with also certain requirements to be filled and how many points you get, determines the kind of end boss battle you get. So you can either have the foot on the roof, that's basically the worst possible outcome, or you can fight Rugal or Akuma, depending on your lead character if they are Capcom or SNK. So if you meet the end requirements, instead, your grand ceremony, it will be interrupted. And one of the two characters will be standing on that castle to meet and greet you. Here in this specific case here, both Rugal and, well, Akuma, they're looking to fight each other. You're just kind of a sideshow. And you're there to basically burn time till the other one shows up. And then, well, you get your battle. You will fight a ratio 4 version of Rugal or Akuma. But here's the real special thing. That's regular Rugal or regular Akuma. These guys, they'll give you a little bit of a fight, you know, sure, but they won't really make you run for your money. You'll beat them pretty easily enough as long as you know what you're doing. But you might fight the other versions of them. So now, depending on your situation here, if you do the best possible, once again, you're in your Grand Championship moment and you're about to be interrupted. But once again, oh my god, what's happening here? You're about to see a further evolution of the characters, as this time they did meet up. And depending on who you fight determines a winner. You either get Shin Akuma, if Akuma wins this battle, and Shin Akuma has been in many other games before, or if Rugal wins, you instead get God Rugal, one of the most belligerent, aggressive, and hardest to beat bosses in the history of fighting games. Not to downplay Akuma, but once again, Akuma, we get him all the time. Akuma is a common character in fighting games. Rugal, not so much, and especially in this version, he is much more terrifying as a boss to me. Now, why is God Rugal terrifying? Well, one, look at him. He's tossing Akuma just like a piece of trash. He's got this sick look here, windswept hairs, clothes all in tatters, everything's on fire, the whole tournament's destroyed, and he does so much damage on everything! He's hyper mobile, he can teleport across the screen whenever he wants, he can reflect projectiles, and as a beauty bonus, depending on your ratio what character you have, he can also just one-shot you. Have fun with that, I guess. Rugal is a very, very scary man. Between things like the Genocide Cutter, that's his giant wheel kick, also great name, which has been nerfed, I guess you could say. Names have been changed sometimes over the years in American territories. The fact that he reads your buttons like an MFer, like the computer will cheat, that's just how it is, right? And then things like this. You're not going to feel too powerful when he just grabs you and just, yeah, like, he's a boss's boss, to say the least. But say the impossible happens and you do manage to beat him, right? Well, then you're treated to what little lore the game has to offer you, as you'll get a special little end scene. For God Rugal or for Shin Akuma, it is different for both characters, as kind of the other side gets their win back, if you will, in wrestling parlance. So for Rugal, God Rugal, when he is defeated, what happens is this. The Satsui no Hado, the power that he stole from Akuma to become God Rugal, well, turns out maybe it's kind of backfiring a little bit. And Akuma will basically take over Rugal's body, and then you got this weird fusion of Rugal and Akuma in the same body, then moving forward as a new entity. And for Akuma, Shin Akuma, when he loses, then the Orochi power taken from Rugal basically backfires on him and steals him away to the heavens. Either way, there's a little bit of a to be continued vibe, whoever loses in the end. But you know what? They lost. You won. So the castle gets rebuilt. That's awesome. And you get this little lovely visual here of a kid who just really, really, really loves Terry Bogard. And this whole tournament was basically presented as this giant media event, right? So we end with the news and all that kind of stuff. And I love it. I love it when a fighting game is presented as a proper tournament going on. And this game does it well. At the very end come the credits here. You get a little bit of a text ending for each character. It's not too in-depth, sadly. But you get what you get, right? Guile going back home. Love it. Ryu, he goes and trains even more. That kind of stuff. Just a little bit of fluff for you. And that's just a lot of what Capcom vs. SNK 2 is. I know this is a longer video, but I love this game to death. and there's so much about it that's great. And I could spend another hour just talking about the competitive aspects of the game, because oh my god, there's so much to talk about on that front. I didn't even mention role canceling once in this video, did I? And I'm not going to get into it now, so we'll leave it there. But yeah, this is just the surface level of this game, and I hope you enjoyed the video for what it was. As a longer video and it took some time to make, I would sincerely appreciate if you could drop a like or a share or anything like that. And I hope you check it out for yourself, because it is a truly great game. It is deserving of your time and your effort to just see what it is about. That all said, my friends, that is the end of this video, so thank you very much for watching. Hope this video has found you well. Go out and play some fighting games.
I know that you'll be back.